Hi, welcome to another episode of Mic Check. I'm Norman Varney. In this episode, I talk with three-time Grammy Award winner Bob Katz, owner, president, and mastering engineer at Digital Domain in Florida. We've known each other for a number of years. In fact, Bob was a beta tester of my EVPs, equipment vibration protectors, and he wrote an AES paper on them about 7 years ago. As you'll hear in this interview, Bob has been into music and audio electronics since he was a kid, and I should give you some history and name a few of his professional achievements. In 1977, he moved from Connecticut to New York and began his recording career in records, radio, TV, and film, as well as building and designing recording studios and custom recording equipment. He taught at the Institute of Audio Research, and in 1988, he began working with the audiophile label Chesky Records, known for using minimalist miking techniques and no overdubs. In 1989, he built the first working model of the DBX Ultra Analog 128 times oversampling A to D converter and produced the world's first oversampled commercial recordings. He's written 2 books, Mastering Audio, The Art and the Science, now in its 3rd edition, and the iTunes Music, Mastering High-Resolution Audio Delivery. Bob recorded the world's first music DVD with 96K 24-bit, and that was Sarah Kay's Hobo on the Chesky label. Bob recorded the world's first commercial 128 times oversample recording and built the first working A to D that enabled this using Bob Adams of DBX Design. Bob invented and patented the world's first ambient recovery processor. He invented K-Systems, an integrated approach to metering, monitoring, and leveling to help engineers produce consistent sound music while preserving appropriate dynamic range. If you don't know already, Bob is one of the technologically smartest guys in the business. And in addition, he has extremely well-trained and experienced ears. The combination makes Bob Katz a very efficient engineer to work with. Here's my interview with Bob. Check 1 2 3. Check 1 2 3. This episode is brought to you by AV RoomService, specializing in acoustic design services and products to optimize the performance of your room and equipment experience. Visit us at avroomservice.com or book a call to speak with me to see how I can help you get the most out of your room and gear. AV RoomService, the science of perfected sound. Okay, Bob, it is a pleasure to see you again, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your morning and getting into the afternoon in Florida to spend a little time with me. So I really do appreciate seeing you again. It's always fun. It's always a learning experience talking with you.
Well, I'm learning every time I meet you, so the feeling is
Hopefully we're both learning every day, you know? I mean, that's what makes fun, to me anyway. That's what's fun about what we do. So with that, tell me, Bob, tell me about what you do.
well, the cool thing is what you see behind me is what I do. I'm really a fortunate guy. I'm lucky enough to be able to say that what I love doing, which is listening to music, I've turned that into a profession since 1972.
Since 72, you've been professional in audio. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So what started it off in 72? What were you doing?
Oh, I got a $10,000 inheritance from my late father, and I bought some microphones and a little mixer, and I put them into a case. And I also bought a Revox 15 IPS 2-track recorder, and I put it all together into a portable recording setup. And I went on the road and recorded all kinds of local musicians and bands.
Awesome. Awesome. With a pair of mics. What were the mics?
Well, oh my God, I had about 10 microphones.
Oh,
Do you want me to go through the whole list of the names of the
no,
microphones?
you don't have to. But so you were not doing multi-tracking though. This is a 2-track, and so
Which is actually, I could almost guess your next question is, how did you begin to master or choose to do mastering?
yeah,
And I think that first of all, I was a clarinetist for many years from the age of 10. And so I really knew music, and I was also, and am still, at least hopefully, an audiophile. So I knew what real performances sound like, the
right.
dynamics, the spatiality, the depth,
The
the
attacks, the decays. Yeah,
impact, all of that.
yeah,
And from the day one, I always sought to try to capture and, if possible, to retain the dynamics of a performance. Later on, when I wrote my book, I used two terms, which I defined, called microdynamics and macrodynamics,
you
which were
define
not,
those terms.
well, at least the way I used them.
Okay,
Um, Eventually, when the ITU came up with the BS 1770 loudness standard, I was able to connect my concepts of macrodynamics and microdynamics to two of the technical terms that are used in the loudness standard. And I also defined a metering standard long before the ITU and the EBU came up with the loudness measure. And I was able to adapt my metering standard, which is known as the K metering, uh,
yeah.
to the official loudness standard.
What year was that?
When the ITU came up,
When you introduced the K system.
around year, well, 1995 was the beginning of it.
Uh-huh.
Putting a message on the screen, and every time it thinks I'm changing devices. Okay, so around 1995, I gave a presentation to the Audio Engineering Society in New York called "Where's the Zero?" And everybody was wondering, because as digital audio began, we lost the averaging meter called the VU meter. And I defined in that presentation what the VU meter was and why its loss was an issue for digital recording. And then eventually, the ITU, sometime in the early 2000s, came up with a loudness measuring standard, which effectively replaced the VU meter. And I was able to adapt my K metering to a 0 LU approach.
I see. LUFs, yeah.
Well, LUFS
LUFS,
and LU is relative, and LUFS is
yeah,
absolute.
yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So tell me, what makes Bob Katz and Digital Domain unique as far as mastering?
Well, I think I already kind of said it. Uh, for all of my clients, whether they be classical, folk, rock, even some hip hop, uh, orchestral, choir, opera, I work in all genres. That's part of what makes it unique. But
Yeah,
what also makes it unique is, no matter what kind of music I'm working with, I have the sound of natural dynamics and performance in my head, and I try to bring at least some of that into each of the genres that I work with. And the musicians, they may appreciate that subliminally. They're conscious of that or not. And that they appreciate the music that I master.
That's why they're coming to you. So
Uh,
how do you approach a new project?
well, the first thing that I do is try to learn the music that is being sent to me. Now, I don't mean memorize it and transcribe it. I
Hmm.
mean
The character.
to understand what it is that they're performing. So
Yeah.
before I even get to the mastering, I ask the client to send me a mix that they have created, and I give them a listen eval, which I do for free before I begin the master. So them what I think about the recording and how I would suggest approaching the mastering. And that's the beginning of it. But there's
Right.
a formula. I say that I'll use this piece of gear or that piece of gear or
Right.
in until I hear the music. And some recordings don't need any processing at all.
That's nice. Makes your life easy. Yeah.
Well, not just my
Um,
life, but it would be the purest, most transparent.
right. Yeah. Um, are you having to deal with many formats typically when somebody comes to you with a project? Are they asking for it to be mastered in several different formats?
Well, with the advent of immersive and surround audio,
Mhm.
I'd have to say that we may have to approach both the stereo version and an immersive or Atmos or
Yeah.
7360 or RO 3D format. So we're getting back into multiple formats. But the days of cassettes and, well, vinyl still exists,
Yeah.
but the days of cassettes are gone. So I may have to make a version if I'm working in stereo only, which is 99% of what it is that I do. Um, I would create a version for digital release. I might have to create a compact disc for those who still are making CDs, and that's becoming more and more rare. And lastly, a version for LP. So there would be three possible formats to consider.
How about streaming and different sampling rates and so forth?
Uh-huh. Well, a lot of people in my profession are still ignorant about it, but we still want to send a single format to all the streaming services. We use what's called an aggregator or a distributor. Well, I don't, but my client uses a distributor, and I send a high resolution single master to the distributor who sends that to all the services, and the services do the format conversion. So Spotify, which works with a lossy format at 44.1 kilohertz, will get my, for example, 96 kilohertz 24-bit digital master. And for better or worse, they will sample rate convert it and bring it down to a lossy 44.1. Well, Apple Music has two services, a lossy and a lossless service. So they will take my high resolution original and put that on their lossless service after converting it to ALAC format, which is Apple's proprietary lossless format. And they will also convert it to their lossy format for their lossy service.
So having that means that you have um, some. I don't know if I want to use the word confidence, but you're allowing them to do their process, use their process to convolute, if you will, rather than here, this is my master for Spotify, and this is my master for for Tidal or Kubas or whatever. Are you confident that they're not going to do some damage to your master?
Good question. Well, back in the old days, if I was producing a master for compact disc, it would be on 1630 format, and later it would be in what's called DTP format. And that was the immutable master. I produced it, and nobody was allowed to touch it, and it went
Yeah.
directly to compact disc. LP is an interesting and different story. I don't
Yeah.
have a cutting here, but I have at least one cutting engineer who I really, really, really trust, who will
Who's that?
translate. Oh my God, Eric, over at the bakery in Los Angeles.
That's
Eric Boulanger.
a coincidence.
Oh, I sent that. I gave that to you. Eric
This is
Boulanger.
so. This is a coincidence in that I'm also doing a. Do you know who Got a Groove is, and the bakery and how they're associated? Got a Groove. This is just a sidebar. It turns out I found out I'm near Columbus. It's they're probably a half hour away from my house. They have one of the finest metal mastering facilities around. Anyway, they started out.
You mean DMM? DMM, direct metal mastering?
I believe that they do that, but no, they're making, so Eric would send them the acetate, and they would plate it, and they would make the stampers. That's what they do. And it's a pretty large state-of-the-art facility that I didn't know. I mean, it is pretty darn new, but I didn't know about it until fairly recently. And anyway, they're associated with the bakery. And so anyway, just kind of a coincidence.
At least the bakery uses them for plating. We're getting off the subject. Your question was, do I have confidence that the masters that I'm producing, what will happen to them? Well, if I were to produce, if Spotify allowed me, if Apple allowed me, if Amazon allowed me, if Tidal allowed me, if Qobuz allowed me to produce a special master in the format that they most prefer, all these different masters how do we ensure that each of them gets to the right place? The confusion, there's tremendous potential confusion in that respect to begin with.
Yeah.
So the days where the mastering engineer produced the actual physical or electronic master, which was then used, are gone. And the fact is that Spotify doesn't allow us, Apple doesn't allow us, for many reasons, including security reasons, to convert to Apple's lossy format, or Tidal with MQA is another story. But anyway, the difference.
It sounds like an efficient way to go, because I mean, otherwise it's a lot more work and cost for the artist, and
not just work and cost, but things can get lost and get confused.
Yeah.
So
right.
We, those in our profession, have to have confidence that the engineers at the different streaming services hopefully know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get into the details here, but we run into a lot of stuff, and all we can do is hope that it will translate at each of the streamers.
Do they give you, before they release, do they give you a copy to check out? No.
No, suddenly it's on the air.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Huh. So with your projects, how that are coming into you to master, how important is soundstage to you, and how do you deal with it when you need to make it better, let's say?
Well, there's a lot of factors that affect the soundstage. I actually have a US patent on a process that I invented that colloquially is called the K stereo process. It's been licensed to 3 or different manufacturers and plug-in manufacturers, as well as hardware manufacturers. There's no longer there is a piece of hardware that's still made by Daniel Weiss. You know who he is.
Yeah. Are you talking about the ambience recovery
Right,
processor? Okay.
which is my process, but there aren't many people who buy the hardware anymore. A lot of it is done in plugins. So
Yeah. Yeah.
my patented K stereo process takes the existing ambience in a recording and allows the engineer to extract that ambience and use it to increase, when necessary, when desired, the depth,
Right.
dimension, and spaciousness. But
Hmm.
there are many other things that I may do or that a mastering engineer may do to work on the soundstage. But really, the soundstage happens in the recording and or the mixing.
Right.
If
Yeah.
the mixing engineer does not use a dimensional reverb or didn't capture the reverb in a hall in a natural acoustic manner, if that was the way it was made,
Mm.
all I can do is maybe improve it a little bit, possibly with a K stereo, possibly with some other things that I can do to see if I can improve the spatiality.
Yeah.
And
Do you find that, especially with multi-track, do you find um, that they are n- not asking for it because they're not aware of the enhancement possibilities of, say, a deeper or a taller or a wider soundstage?
remember, not every recording and not every
Yeah, yeah,
performance benefits from more
yeah,
spatiality, sometimes intimacy. So
sure.
we mastering engineers have to be very, very much in tune with the intent of the performer. And if I increase the spatiality, but the vocal starts to recede and is no longer at the right balance, what's the benefit? Because
Hmm.
it doesn't match what the artist's intent was. So
Yeah,
mastering engineers have to be very, very tuned in to the intent of the artist, and we go
yeah,
on from there.
yeah,
I don't out of the recordings that I get, the vast majority are just 2 tracks already mixed, and that's what they feel is their intent. If when I get it, okay, I just finished a lovely jazz recording with a lead female vocalist, and their mixing was, shall we say, okay, but it didn't have quite the clarity, and her voice wasn't quite sitting in a good way above the instruments, and
yeah,
the balance wasn't that great. Now, with just a 2 track, there is only so much that I can do to improve that. And of course, they are hopefully trusting me and my judgment. I'm both a mixing engineer for a long time as well as a mastering engineer. I still do some mixing, and we could talk about that. Uh,
yeah.
so the artists and the producer themselves said, Bob, I wonder if you could do better using stems. And stems would be a submix, so to speak,
Yeah.
of the different elements. So in the case of this jazz recording, I received vocal,
Hmm.
flute, bass, piano, um, and some other instruments all mixed together. Each of those stems in stereo. Now, if I take all the stems together at exactly a unity gain, it's exactly their mix. So they're actually wondering if I don't have good taste, or if I don't have the ears, or if I don't sense or agree with what they intend, it could come right back and slap me in the face and say, Bob, this sucks. But after so many years doing it, if I would say over 95% of the time, if I make a judgment that says, well, the vocal maybe should come up a little bit, or the vocal needs a little more presence, or I could go on and on with whatever issues there are. And then it comes to them and they listen, they say, that's perfect. That's a good track record, I think, 95.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my question is really about how often are they aware of sound stage depth and width compared to, you going, hey, this could use a little bit more?
Well, let me uh, let me put it this way. Most artists are not audiophiles.
Right.
And I'm not supposed to be doing an audiophile for this jazz recording. I'm not being an audiophile. I'm trying to put myself in the context of listeners who have small systems, medium systems, big systems, and that it translates to them all. And the artist herself is not really a professional listener or an audiophile. Many of them come to me, though, even though they're not audiophiles, and they say, Bob, how did you do it? It sounds more spacious
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
deeper and
They've never
warmer and
experienced that.
clearer.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, there are clients who notice it.
Yeah.
There are some who just don't notice it officially, but subliminally.
Yeah. That would be my
I can
guess
say
is that,
that.
most of them, they've never experienced it. So they don't know it exists. And then you
Mhm.
can, go, hey, we can do this. And then they go, oh my gosh.
As
Yeah.
long as the balance is not disturbed,
Yeah. Right.
or
Right.
it moves in a direction where they didn't realize that it would be improved. By the way, your
Hey,
camera looks way better than most um, webcams
thank you.
around.
um, hey, I have a question that when I was at your place, I meant to ask and didn't. So I'll ask here. How do you, because I know you're coming from a purist audio point of view, trying to keep the,
Remember what I said. I do all kinds of music. I put on my purist hat very often unless there's a specific client who's looking for an absolute purist approach.
no, what I'm asking is how do you keep your, because I know regardless, you're going to want to keep your signal chain simple and not have, everything hooked up. How do you route things?
Well, it's very complex question.
Okay.
Okay. Um, if a recording would benefit from as transparent an approach as possible, I certainly always use, in terms of processors, the minimum necessary to achieve the goal.
Yeah.
But if a particular processor has a particular color, but in addition to that color, it improves something else, mastering is the art of compromise. It's always a
Mm,
trade-off because,
yeah.
well, for example, if a recording comes to me 99% of the time as a digital 2-track WAV file,
Yeah.
if I decide that I want to use this pendulum audio compressor, for example, I have to go D to A and then back to D again in order to use it because it comes in as a digital file. So
Yeah.
there is an inherent loss, but perhaps a slight loss of transparency. And I have to make the judgment, is the improvement worth
Worth it.
the degradation?
Yeah. The compromise. Yes. Is the enhancement worth the compromise? Yeah. Right. Yep. Yep. Um, how important is the role of acoustics in the studio?
Well, you kept trying to tell me that I need to put proper diffusers behind me and
No. Yeah. I'm just saying, as a mastering engineer, forget about the fact that I'm an acoustical engineer. As a mastering engineer, how important is it? I'm just trying to get everybody to understand how important acoustics is to translation of your what you do, so that it translates well to what others do, or even backing it up to to the mixing studio and the recording suites and all of those, as far as, okay, we all want to have neutrality. We all want to, we don't want to have the room interfering with the mix.
Okay. There are maybe a few perfect
Nothing's
mastering.
perfect.
Yeah. Well, there may be a few.
Always a compromise.
Right, right. There may be a few perfect control rooms out there, but they're very, 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 very few. So it's not that I subscribe to the principle that if I know my room, I can make it translate. But to some degree, there's always that. For example, I love it when this
Went to sleep.
TV went to sleep. There, I woke it up again. Okay. Um, I know, for example, that the bass in this room should be better controlled than it is, but it's quite good and I can hear all the note definition there is. So I don't seek to have the absolute tightest bass in here because it's not possible, but it still sounds fantastic and I know how it translates. So the
Right.
bass becomes part of what's built into me at this point. I don't even think about it. I know, but all
Yeah.
the bass notes are even. That is so critical. The bass notes are even, and the extension goes down to 15 hertz minus 3 dB. So I can deal with the bass, even if it isn't as tight as it could be if I did some further acoustical work. But and also, as wonderful as these Dynaudio speakers are, they are a one-man speaker. So if if my client comes in and joins me by my side, they get this
And you
image
share the space. Yeah.
that pulls to one side.
Yeah.
So I have to sit almost with my head in a vice to hear
Yep.
the stereo
Yeah.
image, and I could go on and on. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I'm very happy and I can work in the room and it translates very well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So when you're evaluating a new piece of equipment, what are you listening to and what are you listening for? I imagine you're putting on, a recording that you made, or something that you're really familiar with.
Well,
What is that?
you're thinking from the reproduction side because that's where you
I
come from.
am. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm if I buy a new piece of gear, it's a gear that does a particular process very, very well, and I want to see how well it does it. It could be a compressor, an expander, an equalizer,
Yep.
a limiter,
Sure.
specialized processors. So I'm looking to see
Yeah.
how well it does what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can
Mm-hmm.
say. I mean, you're asking a generic question that I can apply.
So well, I mean, you're going to put some kind of a signal through it, and it's not going to be a sine wave or something like that. You're going to be putting some music through it. I'm sure it depends on what the processor is doing, what you select. But yeah, I was just curious as to, what do you use to evaluate an example of what you use to
Okay.
evaluate a new piece of gear.
if I'm looking to see how transparent the gear is, I'll play some of my finest audiophile quality recordings through that. And I see,
Hmm.
what are we losing? It's very
Yeah.
rare that we don't lose a little something. But
Yeah.
in many cases, if it's a particular piece of gear that has a character, I keep pointing to this because it's on the screen. The pendulum has a very warm character. The bass gets fatter, and it does a few other things. The soundstage also increases. I just want to make sure that it doesn't hurt the sound. But there are many, many recordings that the pendulum is not suitable for because of
Right.
its character. That's all I can
Right.
tell.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's a good definition. How do you prefer to receive files for mastering? For those
Well,
clients that are interested in using digital your mastering, how do you suggest that they send it to you?
well, back in the old days, it was Federal Express and it was an analog tape.
Yeah.
Now it's a digital file. And I do ask them to zip it before they transmit because zip is an interesting algorithm. It won't unzip if something was corrupted.
Huh. That's
So,
interesting. I did not
yeah.
know that. Yeah.
So
Huh.
if I receive a zip file and it unzips, I know that I have a faithful copy of what it is that they sent.
Yeah. Huh. Very good. Huh. And what what sampling rate are you requesting?
I don't necessarily request a sample rate.
Okay.
I ask the client to send me the original sample rate and word length or bit depth, whatever words
Hmm.
you prefer to use, of their session. If they're working in Pro Tools and the Pro Tools session's at 48 kilohertz, I want to receive a 48 kilohertz file.
Okay. Okay. What's the most common tip that you give to those who are submitting projects to you?
Okay. I try to tell them not to use a digital peak limiter in their mix. And if they did use a digital peak limiter, the sound might have already gone downhill because they add distortion. And if I'm going to be using one at the end of the chain, it would be good not to have one prior to that point. So I ask them, I send them an email typically that says, did you use a digital peak limiter in your mix? And if you did, could you please send me two versions, one with and one without, and I
Huh.
can compare them and see if it had a negative effect or if there's, I don't want to get into all the details. There are consequences of not using it. If they did use it, I could go on and on, but
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
a one size fits all situation.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. Tell me, let's do a plug. Let's plug your book.
Oh,
So tell me
I
about
recognize that.
this. Yeah, 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 yeah. And this is the newest edition, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me about it.
Well,
I mean,
back in the 1990s, I had an excellent relationship with a company called TC Electronic,
oh
which
yeah.
has since been absorbed by Behringer, for better or worse, and they had changed their name. And I had written a number, and I still have them up, some of them articles on my website about advice for mastering engineers. And it became a pamphlet that they printed called, Mary, do you remember what it was called? not the Mastering Engineer's Handbook, but it was, oh, I know, it
Huh.
was called The Secret of the Mastering Engineer. And a lot of people were really upset because, don't give away your secrets. But the biggest secret that I have is there are no secrets. Anyway,
I like that. I
it's the
agree.
experience. So
Yeah,
that became the foundation for a book.
I see. I didn't
The
know
book
that, huh?
the book grew out of that pamphlet.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's a beautiful book.
Oh,
Um,
thank
it's a large book, and it's printed. I mean, it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful book. It's almost a coffee table type book. It's, unlike my other reference books, this is way up here as far as
you.
quality
Well, you can thank
content, and I know Mary had a lot to do with it, right?
I'm just going to say you have to thank my graphic designer, Mary Kent.
Yes.
My concept was to make a CinemaScope booklet that was very wide so that I had room to put what I wanted on it. So it's wider than it's tall, and
Yeah.
that was part of the concept.
Yeah. 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 Well, great graphics, great photographs, and of
Oh, and
course,
photographs by Mary in there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
and technical content is, it's Bob Katz.
oh,
So yeah. So yeah, I'll put a link so that people know where to get that from Amazon. Unless you have another suggestion.
Amazon is good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right. If you go to my website, digido.com,
Oh, okay.
and you buy the book, and you ask for an autograph, I'll autograph the book.
Yeah. I got mine that way. Yeah.
Oh gosh. I hope I said nice
Yeah.
things about you.
You did. You said best wishes to Norman, who really cares about good sound.
How would
And
I
that
know?
was May 13th, 2021.
4 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, okay, let's see. What music do you listen to for fun, Bob?
Hmm.
Do you
I
get the
prefer.
opportunity to listen to for fun?
I have a Tesla, which has a fantastic audio system in it, and on it, I have a connected to it. I have a USB drive of all the high res material, which can be played in high res in the car.
Wow.
And I would say over 90% is stuff that I've mastered that I enjoy, the most recent things. And the other
Huh.
10% are, oh my gosh, works from Morton Lindbergh. I really love his 2L recordings. So
Huh. I'll
I'll
have to
listen
check that out.
classical works there, wonderfully recorded, especially
Yeah.
in surround or Atmos. Um,
Hmm.
Almost anything that Al Schmidt produced, I love.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I have a bunch of recordings that I like to listen to. Um,
Mhm.
and on the radio, when we're driving, I'll listen to Latin jazz, which is one of
Oh,
my
nice. Yeah. I know that is a favorite of yours and mine too. Yes. Yeah. Being a percussionist, I love playing to it. So
well,
yeah.
I had the privilege of mixing Sammy Figueroa's quintet live at Judson's uh, uh, performance venue here in Orlando, and I took that recording, and one of the singles from that is already on its way to the different streaming services.
Awesome. Awesome. Um, I'll have to put a link for that in there too. You'll have to maybe, I'll search for it. If I can't find it, I'll get it from you.
I'll have to find out if it's out yet. I know that
Okay.
it went to the distributor and they go through their process, but
Yeah.
these are five of the most talented Latin jazz musicians out there, and Sammy is a world-class conguero, and he plays the three conga technique. And
Right.
the Sammy and his producer Rachel Farrow were really, really, really happy. So I got back into mixing a few years ago, and I try to pick and choose what I work on. One of them is big bands, and the other one is the Latin jazz combos.
And I know Mary enjoys that stuff too.
Yeah, well,
Very cool.
she speaks Spanish fluently, and I try to catch up with her.
um, so what was the first rock concert that you went to? Do you recall, Bob?
And it was the Beach Boys, if I recall.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
All right. Huh.
Yeah.
Um,
And blues, George
yeah.
Harmonica Smith, B.B. King. Oh my God, I like the blues.
Yes. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. Uh, do you recall what the first album was that you bought?
When I was like 10 years old, I inherited a bunch of the LP collection from my dad, who thought of himself. They didn't have the word audiophile in those days, but he enjoyed stereos, and he built his own Radio Shack system. It was Command Grand Award record company on Command Records by I forget the name of the singing group. Doing stereo demonstration. I'm over here. I'm over there.
Oh, yeah.
I used to play that all the time. So I was
that totally sounds like Bob Katz.
Yeah, I was already, I mean, at the age of 10 or 12 or 13 or whatever, I got my first tape recorder for my bar mitzvah, age 13. And I was editing tape in the first year already and recording and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Very cool. Tell me a little bit about, you do a lot, and Mary too, photography. I mean, this is something you're spending quite a bit of time doing that now. Yeah.
Well, it's an avocation. I can't always pick a band or an orchestra to record. Oh, and Mary's going like this because it's a heavy camera and a heavy lens, so it keeps me nimble.
Oh, and shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you like to photograph most?
Probably insects and bumblebees and after that, birds if I can catch them, and then alligators in the swamp, birds.
Oh, huh.
And then the end of October we're going to the air show in Sanford, and
cool.
Catch the thunderbirds up there.
Will you do an audio recording of that too?
Oh, too much to carry.
Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? Usually you end up catching the crowd, but I did do two highly celebrated recordings of rocket launches.
Yes, I experienced that at your place on that system. Yes. Awesome.
One of them in true binaural with a dummy head, and the previous one with a pair of DPA microphones. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Incredible recording. Just amazing. I don't know what it's like to actually be there, but it seemed like I was there.
The difference is my system goes down barely to 15 hertz. But when you're there, you get down below 8 hertz and you feel it in your chest.
Yeah.
You can't. I don't know a system that I've met up with the infrasonic. Have you?
No, but I do know what you're talking about, and different body parts have different resonances so I'm wondering, when you've experienced these rocket launches, does it ever make you feel nauseous?
Oh, no. It's the most pleasurable sensation. Your ears don't hear the below 20 or so. But
but you're feeling it.
Feels it.
Yeah.
and
Yeah. How
it's
about your
intense.
feet? You're feeling it through
Everything.
your feet too. Yeah.
Your feet,
Yeah.
your
See, that's
chest.
something I that would be a cool experience.
It's a
Someday
wonderful.
I'll have to do that.
You have to come to
Yeah.
Florida and book time.
Yeah. 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 That's on my bucket list. So tell me, what are the worst and the best things? I think you've already told me about the best things, but what are the worst things about being a mastering engineer, or let's say a recording engineer or a mixing engineer?
Oh, that's too general. That's too heavy. um,
Wouldn't you say it's probably some of the individuals that you have to deal with and
well,
communication?
you're putting words in my mouth. Um, Communication and empathy are very, very, very important. And
Yeah.
I, I think Bob Ludwig had this intuitively built in to his psyche, and he got along with tons and tons of different artists of all kinds, and
Yeah.
they loved him. Um,
Right.
I hope that I reached the point eventually where I could do the same, but I had to work at it. I think it was
Hmm.
instinctive with Bob. And
Yeah.
you know, I I made mistakes. I didn't listen as well at times to what the artist was trying to tell me,
Mm.
but those days, not crossing fingers, I think those days are long gone.
Yeah. Al Schmidt was another guy who he could work with anybody. You know, he just brought a presence to the job, to the day, to the environment, and brought the best out of the musicians. Jeff
Yeah.
Porcaro is another guy
Oh yeah.
who did that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Battenberg,
So
I assume. I mean, I know George really well,
yeah,
and yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I like his thing.
Um, so tell me something that you're most proud of the Bob Katz um, legacy.
Yeah,
What's something that you're really happy with?
I don't have a legacy yet. I'd like to think that I'm
Sure
still
you do.
working.
Well, you are, but you're a living legacy.
I'm still around. Oh, Glo, are we asking for trouble here? Okay. Would you phrase that question again, please? What was the question?
Uh, Name something that you're most proud of as far as your work.
All right. Well, the thing that I am probably most proud of is that I have done many things which many artists come to me and say, I love this, I love that. And I get a great pleasure when I hear, oh, really? Thank you so much, because there's a favorite recording that they have.
Yeah,
And the second thing that I'm in the same vein that I think I'm most proud of is that I have had many students over the years. Only a couple of months ago, um, the students from Abbey Road Studios in Miami came here, and I gave them a 2-day seminar
oh
uh,
wow. Huh.
on recording, mixing, and mastering, and the art of
Huh.
listening. And I conveyed to them the importance of listening and critical listening and training your ears. And what I'm proud of is that I've done this many times. I've given seminars all around the world, and the pleasure of conveying to students and professionals the art of listening, the art of mastering, the art of mixing, and judgment, making critical judgments. And when they come back to me and say, I learned so much from your seminar, that gives me great pleasure. So I
Yeah,
think that's what I'm most proud of. I could talk
and
about individual recordings that I've mastered and how
yeah,
happy
yeah,
I am
yeah.
with them. But I think that being able to give to the next generation and seeing them grow up and become great engineers because of it. I could name some names of former interns and assistants that I've had and where they are today. And they're all up there.
Yeah,
They really
that is awesome. That is definitely several things to be proud of. It also leads me into the next question, which is, since you cover it in 2 days, I'm going to ask you to cover it in a paragraph.
are.
And that is, how might you suggest that we can become better listeners?
Go out to live concerts and appreciate what live, real instruments sound like in performance. And there are very few of those around, so it's really important to seek those
Now,
out.
Bob, are you suggesting, I think you are, unamplified in acoustic spaces for the most part?
For the most part, yes, but they're
Yeah,
well done amplification to bring a bass instrument up a little bit or to help. I mean, very few vocalists have enough projection to come through over the band. So let's just say well done amplification. But even,
yeah,
I mean, in my early 20s, I would go out to concerts mixed by some of the finest engineers that I knew. And I would sit there and I would say, well, I think that the lower mid range around 250 should come up another quarter. And I would think like a recording engineer in the middle of a live concert. And if I mentioned that to some of my friends who were mixing at the time, they'd look at me cross eyed because I'm being far more of a perfectionist than is possible in the live performance with the sound reinforcement.
Y-
And I must
yeah,
say there's
yeah,
very little sound reinforcement these days that sounds good enough, but it happens
yeah, yeah.
now and again.
Yeah, and certainly I think with the equipment that's available these days, the chances of a good mix are better than they used to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but overly
mm,
loud PA systems is a real problem these days.
yeah,
Oftentimes,
yeah,
I'm sorry to say, more often than not, I have to put earplugs in my ear.
yeah,
And even some of the concerts by the finest performers that there are. Um, and will something ever
yeah,
be done by that? We could get into the attraction of loud, louder
yeah,
sounds better, and all that. And
oh, yeah,
and the influence of alcohol, because alcohol desensitizes your skin. You could put a
and
pinprick
you're,
into somebody who just
yeah,
had a vodka sour, and they won't feel
yeah,
it. And well, the same thing happens to your ears; they become less
yeah,
sensitive, and you don't know that you're ruining them. So
yeah.
anyway, become familiar with the sound of live music, then come into your listening room and be depressed because
Yeah. No, it's your reference gauge. It's your reference, but you're right. Oh my gosh, all my life, I'll then go and hear a big band and then come home and it's like, oh,
yeah.
not even close,
Yeah, well, boy,
Yeah.
have I had the privilege of standing in front of some of the finest groups that I have recorded and hearing what
Yeah.
they sound like live and that impact.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
able to capture that is almost impossible. So I'm really
Oh
proud if I
yeah.
can get 90% of it,
Yes.
that
Yes.
impact.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's amazing, really. When you think about it, Bob, to to reproduce as well as we can is pretty darn amazing,
Mm.
you know. But yeah, the room acoustics super important as well as the original recording,
Mhm, mhm.
and it's not often that the two meet. But yeah, I mean, when you have a a great piece of music recorded well, you know, um, that's that's what it's all about. I mean, that's where to me the emotions and the joy. It's all about the music. Um, and so when you can play it back over a great system, you just have that much more information and
Mm.
and it's that much more fun. But if it's good music, I can still enjoy it on a boombox. I'll listen to the Allman Brothers on
I
a
wish
boombox, no
I
problem.
wish I could. I wish I could.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a snob. I'm a snob. I'm also a snob for headphones,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Me too. This, or if I'm playing drums along with something, are the only times you'll find me with wearing headphones. So yeah, I don't wear them very often. So yeah, like I don't know. There's a difference to me. The presentation is one that I can't get over. I mean, it's I don't know.
Did I ever
It's
play for
totally
you?
different.
Did I ever play for you the Odyssey Carbon 2 while you were here?
Oh yeah, I mean, great headphones. Absolutely, they sound great. It's what it is for me is the presentation. I'm still looking for the performers to be in front of me, not in me and through me, and that's what it is. My son, he's going, "Oh my gosh, you got to check this out on headphones." And believe me, I appreciate it. It's a completely different experience, and the experience that I prefer is one that is playing to me as if the orchestra is there, rather than me being, whatever. I mean, it depends on how it's recorded, right? And the perspective, but I'm not typically in the conductor position. I'm typically at row M, and so that's the kind of presentation
Interesting.
I'm looking for.
Well, every hall is different.
Sure. Oh yeah. So Bob, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Oh, keep on listening. Listen critically. And that's all I can say. And
Yeah.
enjoy the music.
Great advice. Well, Bob, it was a joy. Of course, I learned several things.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's great. That's always fun, and I hope our listeners will learn quite a few things. So I appreciate the time, and we'll say goodbye for now.
Thank you very much, Norman.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you so much for watching this episode. And if you would like to see more, click here or here. And don't forget to go to avroomservice.com to see how we can help you make the most of your listening experience.